Okay, we're really going off here. Alchemist greeting you. Thank you very much. And we attack for a bunch. That was a pretty good turn, I gotta say. Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to a Shadows over Innistrad Remastered draft walkthrough. I'm Alex, aka Court of Calls from the Limited Level Ups YouTube channel and podcast. This has been a format I've had a ton of fun with, so I want to walk through a draft today. We're going to do a draft, talking about some draft picks, talking about some cards I'm noting as we go through the draft. We're going to do some gameplay of that draft, but before we get into all of that, I do want to touch on some top commons and uncommons just to get you a little bit more acquainted with the set. Okay, so we're quickly going to go through all the colors here, and for each color, I'm going to point out my pick for the top 3 commons in each color and the top 1 uncommon in each color. So starting with white here and starting with my pick for the top common, Thraben Inspector. Looks a little bit underwhelming maybe if you haven't played with it, but human is a creature type that matters in the set, and anything that investigates, that's going to be a little bit better than you think. Nice card advantage in some colors that don't usually get it at common, like white and green in the set, so love me a Thraben Inspector. Bound by Moonsilver, just a solid removal spell. Also nice, the sacrifice another permanent line can help you enable Delirium if your cards care about that. And Dauntless Cathar, it's just a solid body, comes back, makes a spirit, you trade off in combat, or maybe you'll even self-mill and you get something in your graveyard to self-mill and get back for value. My top uncommon here, Town Gossipmonger, another one that looks a little bit underwhelming, but it just brings the beats. It attacks for so much. Starting on turn 3, you go Gossipmonger into 2-drop, this thing's pounding your opponent, and in the late game, it's still pretty good because it attacks, even though it has to attack each turn if able, it can attack for like 5, 6, 7 in the late game. So really strong card. Moving on to blue here, we've got Drownyard Explorers as my top blue common. Again, another creature with Investigate. We've got Drag Under as a solid interaction spell. You know, we've kind of seen a lot of these 3 mana, bounce something, draw a card variants. They're usually pretty good. And Ingenious Scob, another card that really hits hard and is a zombie to boot, which of course is a supported creature type. My top blue uncommon is Nebelgast Herald. This is exactly what any spirit deck wants. Just like a cheap flyer, has flash, works well with your other spirits, and you know what? You don't even have to be a spirits deck. It's just good in any deck. Moving on to black now. Black's top common is Giss's Bidding, and this was one that used to be an uncommon in the original Shadows over Innistrad. It got shifted down to a common, and for a common, this card's really powerful. Not only is it 2 2/2s for 4 mana, that's just a good deal, but Madness really pushes this over the edge because you can cast this on turn 3 a lot of the time. And here's the thing about Madness, if you haven't played with Madness before, if you discard a Madness card, you can cast that at instant speed. So if you go Olivia's Dragoons, for example, here's another one of my top commons. On turn 3, you can discard Bidding on your opponent's turn, flash it in, as just so much stats on turn 3. My second comment here, Deadweight, solid efficient removal spell. Being an enchantment is nice because it's a kind of a rare card type for your Delirium cards. And Olivia's Dragoon, solid 2-drop, also enables the Black Madness cards. And Madness is one of the big themes in Black, along with Delirium. Dragoons works with both of those mechanics, which is kind of nice. You can just discard a land in the late game if you do need to get that 4th card type in the graveyard. My top uncommon for Black is a Curse Witch. This is another card that is a bit better than it might look. It comes down, your opponent goes, do I really want to attack into this thing? Because then it flips into the backside, and the backside is pretty strong. Draining them for 1 turn is a strong effect, but they can't just let this stop them from attacking, and they also can't take 4 if this is attacking them every single turn. So this is a card that's going to put your opponent in some really tight spots. Moving on to red here. Red's pretty simple. So the top 2 commons in my mind are Galvanic Bombardment and Incendiary Flow. Both pretty good removal spells. We've got Ravenous Bloodseeker as my 3rd common here, which is a good Madness enabler, a nice cheap vampire. For uncommons, I kind of cheated because I think that Fiery Temper is the best red uncommon, but at the same time, you know, I didn't want to just say, hey, burn spell, burn spell, burn spell. I wanted to give a little bit of spice here, and so I'm going to put Thermal Alchemist as well. Thermal Alchemist, you might have played with this one before. This was in Midnight Hunt as well. Really awesome card for the spells deck, but good in any deck, honestly. If you're just pinging them for 1 a turn and blocking with this thing, it's great. If you can activate it multiple times, it's even better, though. And then finally, we've got green. So my pick for the top green common is Uvenwald Captive. Nice little mana dork and turns into a monster in the late game. Hinterland Logger, really solid beater. If you play this on turn 2 and your opponent doesn't play a 2-drop, they're in for a world of hurt, starts hitting them for 4 trample damage each turn. And then my 3rd common here, bit cheating here as well. I put 2 here. Rabid Bite is the better card to take early in general because, you know, you can play this in your human deck. You can play this in your blue-green clue deck. But Moonlight Hunt, if you are in werewolves later in the draft, it is a stronger card. Just wanted to kind of make that distinction. And then for uncommons here, this is one of my favorite uncommons of all time, Dusk Watch Recruiter. Just so much card advantage you can accrue from this thing. this is a must answer. The opponent has to answer it right away, or else you're going to just start running away with the game, drawing a bunch of cards. Really amazing card. Would take this first pick happily. All right, and here we are in our draft. So our rare here, Ever After, is a solid one. Getting back 2 creatures for 6 mana from your graveyard to the battlefield is definitely powerful. Other cards I'm looking at in this pack, that Uvenwald Captive that I mentioned, Deathcap Cultivator is a very similar card to Uvenwald Captive, but I actually do like Captive a little bit better since it does turn into a large creature in the late game. There's Butcher's Cleaver, which is actually a deceptively powerful equipment, just makes your humans gigantic and also gives them lifelink. That's actually what I'm going to take here. I've really liked the humans deck, and I think this is a really good start to it. For what it's worth, I think you could have taken Ever After. I think you could have taken Butcher's Cleaver. I think you could have taken Uvenwald Captive from that pack. They're all about similar power level, but like I said, I do like the humans deck quite a bit, and we get a little bit rewarded. We get a Thraben Inspector out of this pack, which is probably the best card here. The other card I'm looking at is Topplegeist, one of the few white Delirium cards. Card's quite strong, just as a 1 mana, 1/1 flyer that maybe you can augment, maybe put an equipment on it. But if you can get to Delirium, tapping down something each turn is quite powerful. Also, the Drowning Yard Explorers in this pack, I like Thraben Inspector a little bit better. Drowning Yard Explorer is also a human, which is nice, but Thraben Inspector, hard to go wrong with the cheaper option. All right, so pick 3 here. There's no strong white aggro human cards here. There's a Kindly Stranger, which is a pretty strong Delirium payoff. There's also the Giss's Bidding, too, and I think Giss's Bidding is such a phenomenal standout card, even better than Kindly Stranger. Part of this is because I think Madness is a bit better and easier to achieve than Delirium. The Madness cards don't really go with the white cards, but it's okay, even pick 3 to take a card that doesn't go with your previous picks. Early on in the draft, you're really just looking for power, right? You don't want to give up too much power. I wouldn't want to take like a Puncturing Light, for example. I think that card's just too weak to continue on our white here. All right, pick 4 here. We do have some interesting options. So Anguished Unmaking is a black-white card, and we have both a black and a white card. Pretty reasonable removal spell. I think that Galvanic Bombardment, which is the deal 2 here, is a little bit better. The 3 life on Unmaking, don't overlook that, right? 3 life is quite a bit. You are definitely paying a premium for this being able to exile anything, not just the creature. So I'm actually going to go with the Bombardment here with the similar thought that I just said. It's okay to branch out into a bunch of different colors early on, take powerful cards. We can play red-white aggro, we can play black-red madness, and this card's going to be good in any red deck we draft. All right, and to follow that up, I think I'm just going to take the Stromkirk Occultist here. One of the stronger vampires. 2 mana to madness it is really strong. Again, remember, madness can be at instant speed if you've got those discard outlets. So we're going to take that here. Now we have 2 madness cards. And look, exactly, this is how draft works, right? We started with 2 human cards, but there wasn't any good human cards as we went on. I mean, there's Sigardian Priest here, and Sigardian Priest is a solid card for sure. I don't think it's better than Stromkirk Occultist. This was actually a rare back in the day, which is kind of funny, shifting down to an uncommon. All right, and a perfect follow-up to this is Olivia's Dragoons. There's a Mournwillow in the pack, which isn't actually one of the better Delirium payoffs. It's kind of funny. Delirium is a bit of a grindy deck, and this is kind of an aggressive card. There is Wildfield Scarecrow, which is a good Delirium enabler because it's an artifact creature, and whenever you're looking for things to enable your Delirium, you want things with 2 card types, so artifact creatures are awesome. But I can't pass up Dragoons. Dragoons is such a solid 2-drop and perfect for what we have so far. All right, and I'm perfectly happy to follow it up with another one here. There's Lupine Prototype, which, ostensibly goes in this kind of deck where you're looking to just dump your hand, but a little bit too often it just sits there as a 5/5. You have a combat trick that's in your hand that you don't necessarily want to use, or you're saving a removal spell and you don't want to spew that off. So a card that you might think might go in this deck, but I don't generally put it in my decks. We're just going to snap up the Dragoons, and now we're in a pretty good spot. I'm going to put this Butcher's Cleaver and the Thraben Inspector in the sideboard for now. Not to say that they can't potentially come back in if something goes funny with the draft, but we're in a great spot where we've got 2 Madness outlets, 2 discard outlets, and 2 Madness cards. And we're just off to the races here with our black-red deck. I think that in this pack, there's nothing too exciting. Shreds of Sanity is an interesting way to discard a card. It is another Madness outlet, so I will take that here. Everything else in this pack is not for us. And even if it was, none of the cards here are very powerful for any other deck. That's another thing I would say too. Just if you're ever trying to figure out, hey, am I in the right lane for this draft? Am I drafting the wrong colors? Always think about what cards are passing you by, right? Because it's very easy to get locked into what you're doing. Like, I started with this awesome Madness start here, and it's very easy to just to go, oh man, I'm just going to lock into this Madness deck. And that very well might happen. But if you're ever trying to figure out, hey, I'm in this deck, but maybe should I be in another deck? Kind of just figure out, hey, am I passing any good cards? And if you're not passing good cards of other colors, then that probably means you're in the right pack. All right, our pick 9 wasn't so exciting. We just took a Hellpack Wolf. Here I'm going to take a Tormenting Voice. It's another decent discard outlet. Ghoul Razor is good for the zombie deck. Gas of Arsonist is an okay 5-drop, not one of the better ones. And we get another Tormenting Voice. I think I'm probably going to take the Rush of Adrenaline over Tormenting Voice. Really nice trick. Tormenting Voice is a fine way to discard your cards, get a little bit of card advantage. Because remember, when you discard a Madness card, it's actually card advantage. Because you discard the Madness card, you get to cast that. Then you draw the 2 cards. At the same time, you don't want to overload on that kind of effect, so I'm just going to take the combat trick here. Ooh, and this is a great sign for us. Insolent Neonate Wheels, another kind of sneaky card. This one wasn't in my top red commons, but it was just on the edge of it. I was considering it. One of the better red common ways to discard a card. You get in for a few points, you discard a Madness card on turn 3 or something, and your Neonates dealt them 3 and given you a discount on one of your cards. There's a Scob here. This is one of the more powerful cards. So, it's kind of funny. I could see us maybe transitioning to like a blue-red deck potentially. We've got the Giz's Bidding and 2 Dragoons, but this is a pretty late ingenious Scob. So we'll see what comes to us. And I'm not locked in at all to anything. I think we are probably locked into red, but I could definitely see me being either red or blue, or even green or white. I think our options are wide open at this point. Ooh, we opened up a cool one. So Distended Mindbender. This uses the Emerge mechanic, which is something that we haven't actually touched on. So what Emerge says is you can sacrifice a creature to make this card costs less, and if you do, then it gets reduced by whatever the mana value of the creature you sacrifice. So generally you want cards that generate value on their own, something like a Thraben Inspector that makes a clue, or something, when it dies it makes a clue. But in our deck, we don't mind just sacrificing a 3-drop to get a 5/5 that rips 2 cards out of their hand. So we're going to take that here. Other cards in consideration, I would love to pick up this Alchemist Greeting, really solid Madness removal spell. Village Messenger, solid little beater. Not a card I'm too sad about passing. It's not a vampire, and we might pick up some vampire synergy cards. So I'm just going to take the Descendant Mindbender, both because it's powerful and it's pretty cool. All right, so here is said Village Messenger that we just passed on. So we'll take it here. Other cards in the pack to note, Dauntless Cathar, I mentioned that one, and the rest of the pack is kind of okay. Byway Courier is one of the better green commons, another investigating card. I was just mentioning how the Emerge cards work pretty well with cards like this. This is one of the cards I had in mind when I said that. Drag Under, of course, like we pointed out before, but pretty happy to snap up a Village Messenger here. Ooh, so pack 2, pick 3 here. We've got 2 really, really strong white cards here. Angel Flight Alabaster, awesome card, even better if you can get some spirits into your deck. And Heron's Grace Champion, phenomenal humans payoff. There's also a Haunted Dead, which is really nice for us. Really good Madness Enabler as well. Helps you discard cards. And it's kind of funny. You might think, if you're going through this draft and you see, oh man, there's a good white card, there's a Sigardian Priest, and there's a rare green-white human card here. Am I supposed to be in green-white? Something to consider is the packs. They switch, right? In pack 1, you're passing one way. Pack 2, you're passing the other. So if you see cards that are the exact opposite of what you're doing, for example, there's a green-white rare here, pick 3, and we're red-black, that's actually a good sign for you, because it means you probably read the signals properly in pack 1. So I actually see this as a good sign for us, especially going into pack 3. It means we're probably going to get paid off. All right, and then this pack, nothing too exciting for us. No Madness enablers, no Madness cards. We'll just take a Conduit of the Storm. This is a perfectly solid 3-drop. Attacks, it ramps you a little bit, turns into a giant monster later. There's also the consideration of taking like a Choked Estuary. Maybe we end up like red, blue, splash of black or something like that, but I don't think we need to plan for that. I'm just happy taking a solid 3-drop. All right, and here's an Insatiable Gorgers, another Madness card. Happy to pick this one up. Not one of the better ones, considering it costs 4 mana. A lot of the good, awesome Madness cards cost like 2 or 3 mana when you Madness them, but this is a solid card. I'm not at all upset about having it. All right, and here is another Olivia's Dragoons. There's also a Foreboding Ruins, which, I would not pass up at all. Very happy to have some mana fixing in my deck, but hard to pass up a premium 2-drop enabler for our deck. All right, so this is kind of a funny pack. Nothing too powerful. I like Obsessive Skinner. I like Reaper of Flight Moonsilver, but I'm going to take the Graph Rats here. There is a chance we pick up Midnight Scavengers, and if you can meld it into Chittering Host, if you get that combo going, it is a pretty nice combo. So on the lookout for Midnight Scavengers if we see one. All right, well, the Dragons keep coming to us. I'm just going to keep taking them. Yep, awesome. Deranged Whelp, also a solid 2-drop, but not better than Dragoons in a deck with Madness cards. All right, and I'm just going to take a Ghoul Caller's Accomplice here. Nothing too exciting, but it's not a bad card to pitch to our Olivia's Dragoons if we want to give it flying. Yeah, kind of now we're getting to the unexciting parts of the pack, and often in the unexciting parts of the pack, especially at the end of pack 1, you should speculate on just the best card. Remember, I was saying early on, hey, we could be blue-red or we could be black-red. Especially if I saw this Drag Under later or in pack 1, I would definitely take it and think, okay, maybe that's a good reason to be blue-red, or at least if we do end up moving to blue-red, that's a solid card. I think a lot of the times it's easy to get trapped in, okay, I am black-red, I'm black-red, I'm black-red, but at the end of the pack is the perfect time to speculate on other colors because you're not going to give too much up. It's not like there's anything you're really missing, and, if you do end up in those colors, you're going to be very happy about that. All right, I'll take a Traveler's Amulet here on the off chance that we splash, but I think that's pretty unlikely. There's a True Faith Censor, which is another strong human card, but again, not near that. And yeah, just take some kind of filler cards as we round out this pack. So as we move into pack 3 here, I'm just gonna look at our deck quickly. So we've got a good number of Madness Enablers. I think we could do for a few more Madness cards, and luckily we opened up a really good one in Fiery Temper here. That is what I'm gonna take. And generally, I try to balance my Madness Enablers and discard outlets at about a 1-to-1 ratio, so a few more Madness cards would be appreciated here. Also, a Ravenous Bloodseeker that might come back out of this pack. There's Collective Brutality, and this is a card that you might know from Constructed, and it's a solid card. I wouldn't feel bad about playing this card. -2 for 2 mana is quite strong, and if you it's a discard outlet too. It's a Madness Enabler, but I don't think it's better than Fiery Temper. 3 damage for 1 mana is just too good. Well, I guess we have a second crack at it. I will take it here. I'm gonna take the Collective Brutality over the Deadweight, and that's pretty close. If I had cards that cared about Delirium, I would take the Deadweight. I think that's enough to push this card over the edge. I'm also not completely convinced Deadweight is worse than Collective Brutality, because 1 mana to get -2, -2 is half as much as 2 mana to get -2, -2, and that is the most common mode of this card. But we'll take it. It's cool if it's the deck's theme. Okay, and wow, this pack is just ridiculous for us. So there's Giss's Bidding, which is top of my list, like I mentioned. Really want to pick up the Madness cards, and this is the best Madness common. There's also Indulgent Aristocrat for a vampire payoff, and Olivia's Bloodsworn for a vampire payoff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the Giss's Bidding, because I know this is a card that I want for sure, and other people might want it too if they're playing zombies, or honestly any black deck. And I would be happy with either of these 2 cards wheeling. It's going to be, we're going to have to get a little bit lucky for that to happen. But if either of these 2 cards wheel, then we get 2 cards out of this pack. And I think that's less likely to happen if we just take the Aristocrat here, for example. Because maybe a vampire player takes the Bloodsworn, and some other black player takes the Giss's Bidding. All right, and this is a perfect pickup. We get a Alchemist Greeting, really solid. I also like Retrogryph. This is a card I haven't talked about too much, but one of the better emerge creatures at common. But yeah, very happy to take the Greeting here. All right, and yep, another Alchemist Greeting. I do think, like I mentioned, I think we're getting paid out pretty nicely here in pack 3, so happy to take that. Also an Abundant Maw, solid card. Don't mind this one. But Greeting is just exactly what we want. All right, and here's another Dragoons, another Bloodseeker. We have our pick of the 2 here. Which one do I like better? I think probably Dragoons is slightly better. Just being able to give flying either on turn 2 or the late game is a little bit better than turning this into a 3/1. So we'll take yet another Dragoons. And this is great too, because we have such consistency now, right? We've just got so many 2 mana discard outlets, and you might be thinking, how many Dragoons is too many Dragoons? There's really not a number. It's a 2-drop that's good early and good late and synergistic with their deck. And here I'll take another Greeting. Although, there is a Bombardment here. That's actually kind of interesting. I think our deck is swung in the synergy direction of we have so many discard outlets that I do actually just want the Madness card, but another Bombardment would be a very solid pickup too. Ooh, and there's an Aristocrat. So we got 1. If we can get a second one, that's awesome. I'm not going to take the 3rd Alchemist Greeting here, because I do think Indulgent Aristocrat is a better card. If we can pick up the other Aristocrat or even Olivia's Bloodsworn, I think this deck's going to be just fantastic. All right, end of the pack here. Nothing too exciting for us. There's a Morkrut Necropod, but don't really think we need too much top end here. Borrowed Hostility, that I'll take. Noose Constrictor, awesome card too. Really, a wild mongrel callback for the folks who played back in the day, back in Odyssey. And adding reach to the card is an upgrade over changing its color. So, yeah, really nice card, and we'll just take... All right, taking more Dragoons here. This is a very abnormal number of Dragoons that we have seen in this draft. And I think this is the pack with the 2 awesome vampire payoffs. So it looks like they didn't wheel. It might be the next one, but I think they passed this by. All right, and yeah, so it looks like we're not getting too much out of the rest of this pack, but doesn't matter too much. Our deck is awesome. Okay, so just building quickly. We didn't pick up the Midnight Scavenger, so obviously we cut the Graph Rats. Other cards on the chopping block, I can see Tormenting Voice going, because we do have enough discard outlets. I can definitely see Shreds of Sanity going. I think that is one of our lesser discard outlets here. Want to keep all of our Madness cards. That's a given. We can cut the Ember Eye Wolf, just, not one of our better 2-drops. I think we can also cut the Village Messenger. I think we've got, as many vampires as we can get with this Aristocrat. I think that's what we want here. I also don't mind going down a land, given our curve. Like, our curve is even better than it might look, because, the Giss's Bidding, which usually goes here, I've put it in the 3-drop slot. So I think going to 16 lands is probably just fine in this deck. And then our last cut, probably just a School Caller's Accomplished. We have the luxury of being able to cut lesser 2-drops because we have so many good 2-drops in Dragoon. So yeah, let's give this a spin. All right, our opening hand is a solid one. I would love to have a 2-drop in this hand, but I think it's definitely a keep. You just can't mulligan hands like this in Limited. And there's also a good chance that we just draw into our Olivia's Dragoons because we have so many of them, or just one of our cheaper Madness cards or Madness outlets. Okay, I'm going to cast Tormenting Voice here for no value, unfortunately. Opponent casts a Hinterland Logger, so we have to cast a spell here, or else this flips into a 4-2, and we just can't be having that. So I think I'm going to discard a land here. Yeah, I think I'm going to discard a land here. I think it's fine to keep all these spells. We're a deck that can operate on a pretty low land count, so if we miss our 4th land drop, it's not going to be the worst. And yeah, these are all pretty good spells. All right, so they are casting some werewolves. We drew the land. So we've got Olivia's Dragoon, Indulgent Aristocrat. I think I'm just going to play those two. I could also cast a removal spell, but let's just get on board. And, you know, your removal is generally more effective when you have creatures on board. There's some situations where you're under a lot of pressure. You've just got to use a removal spell. But I think with, you know, some lifelink here, Giss's Bidding to stabilizes, we'll be okay. I don't feel like I need to use the removal spell just yet. All right, opponent cast a Drownyard Explorers. And will they attack? They attack with the Shrill Howler, which I cannot block. Okay, my turn. Okay, so we have some options here. I think we have a pretty good hand just to grind out this game. I don't feel like I need to get super aggressive. That being said, you know, it's always good to get in some aggressive attacks when you can. So how do I want to pan this out? I think what I'm going to do is attack with the Olivia's Dragoons. And if they block the Explorer, or if they block with the Logger, I kind of get them with the Rush of Adrenaline. And we also get to Giss's Bidding as well. So nice little turn here if they do block like this. Great. This worked out. Yep. They block. And we pass the turn. This is nice too, because they might attack their Logger into my Aristocrat, because this is a pretty valuable card. They might think, okay, I can attack into this and they won't block. But then, be surprised, block with the tokens. Okay, they don't do that, which is okay. Yep, they end for 3. Ooh, Startle Awake. This is a card. So, target opponent mills 13 cards, and then they can put the Startle Awake onto the battlefield transformed. And it comes back as a 1/1. Oh, this is kind of funny. We actually gets to bring this back. Okay, so it comes back as a 1/1 Skulk that if it deals damage, they can return to their hand. So they then get the Start Awake back. So what do we mill? Just to take a quick inventory. Nothing too important. A lot of the card parts of our deck are really redundant anyway, so it doesn't actually matter. But yeah, it's not like we milled some key part of our deck that we can't win without. Our deck is an aggro deck for the most part. It's not like our one winning condition got milled or something. And, you know, if our opponent never actually mills us out, it's actually... They tapped 5 mana and put our Haunted Dead in the graveyard, so it's actually just a benefit for us. All right, so how are we doing this? We can Haunted Dead pitching 2 Madness cards here. That's actually kind of a sick turn here. So if we go Haunted Dead, discard Fiery Temper, discard Alchemist Greeting. Yeah, that seems fantastic. Let's do that. All right. Oop, not that one. Yeah-huh. Okay, we're really going off here. I will Fiery Temper you. And I will Alchemist Greeting you. Thank you very much. Our Haunted Dead's going to come back. And we attack for a bunch. That was a pretty good turn, I gotta say. The opponent's probably like, what just happened? I thought I was so ahead. All right, they play a Byway Courier, which is totally fine, and an Erdwell Illuminator, which does block my 1/1 token. Okay, so we go to my turn, and what do we do? I think I just want to bash all, honestly. I could discard my Gorgers now so that they have to block Dragoon with the Illuminator if they want to block it. There's also the possibility I just attack all, and then whatever they block, let's say they blocked one over here, I sack it to my Aristocrat. That doesn't do all that much, so I think I'm just going to go to... Yeah, let's go attacking first, because I do think it's worth attacking first. They might block in kind of a funny way, which makes me use my Aristocrat better. The giving them the option to block Dragoons on Courier, I don't mind that. That's fine. All right, the opponent blocks the Indulgent Aristocrat, so that gives me a little bit of an option, because... Now I instead can sack my Aristocrat and put a counter on the Dragoons and then just play the Conduit of the Storm. I think that's pretty reasonable as well. We'd be hitting for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Yeah, that seems pretty good here. So let's just do that instead. All right, so we're going to sack Aristocrat to its own ability. Put a counter on the Dragoons. Play the conduit, and here you go. Right, they play a Tattered Hunter, which cannot block. So not doing them too much here. Oh, and Bombardment was just like the perfect draw. So now we get to bombard the Courier. We give the Dragoons flying, and yeah, they just say that's enough. That's just lethal on board. All right, so that's the power of this deck. That's exactly how it works. All right, new game here. Again, lacking a Madness Outlet, but we've just got so many in our deck that I do not mind that. We'll draw into one sooner rather than later, I'm sure. And that's not one, but, you know, if we just go... Actually, that was a nice draw, because we can go Occultist into Rush of Adrenaline when they try to block, which is a nice little combo there. Occultist will deal damage and get our card. Oh, it's dying? Yeah, it's dying. Okay. Oh, but this is nice, because if we draw a land... we missed the land. I was going to say we can just immediately cast Ascended Mindbender and really punish them. Okay, not happening, but what we can do is we can just duress them here. So I'm going to make them take something from their hand. Hopefully they have something. Ooh, we missed. They have a Sorin. It's not an actual duress. It takes an instant or sorcerer. Okay, so that's awkward. If we hit our land drop, though, we're in a really, really good spot because we get to take this Sorin. So, you know, we will not have to face this, hopefully. All right, they play Nearhaze Chaplain. It's definitely a strong card. And Ripple Land time? Hopefully. Not quite. All right, so we're going to go cast Dragoons. We've still got 2 turns. Still got 2 turns to nab this Sorin, because this card is really ridiculous. All right, the cast Griffspoon, which is fine. We're going to... So I can either Fiery Temper now and not take 4 and have them gain 4, or I can wait until their end step, and then they won't be able to flash back this Nearhaze Pilgrim. I think I'd rather just let them make the tokens. I think that's okay here. For not taking 4 damage and not letting them gain 4 life. I think that's a totally respectable trade, especially because we have the Rush of Adrenaline. So if they do block, we can get them. All right. Oh, they're going with the Ironclad Slayer. It's not what I expect them to do, but that's fine. And they're just going to put the Griffspoon on it. All right, fair enough. All right, this is our big turn. If we can hit here, I think we're good, and if not, I think we are in a lot of trouble. All right, we hit. Awesome. Hold my breath there a little bit. So, Emerge. We might even hit a second card here. Yeah, what do you got? Just the Sorin. Okay, so I will accept just taking their Planeswalker. I think that's okay. And we'll just pass here. They cast a... Ooh, Veteran Cathar. Okay, that's pretty good with the Slayer. Just double strike me for 8 damage here. I am also hitting them for a lot of damage here, so I'm not in too much trouble, especially because I do have this removal spell. A land would be great, so I could double spell here with Greeting and Bidding, but Haunted It is nice too, because then we can just jump for a turn. So let's get in like this. And they don't do anything, no blocks. It's totally fine. So I can play the Haunted Dead. Yeah, I think we'll do that, because... This is a chump blocker for the Ironclad Spirit for a turn, and also we can threaten to block the Cathar. Yeah, we definitely are going to block here. Briar Bridge Patrol. So there's a 3/3 that when it deals damage to a creature, they investigate. All right, so... Yeah, they're putting up a solid force here. Land was a nice draw. So let's get in with... what do we get in with? We get in with the Mindbender. They block Patrol and Flyers, maybe, or maybe they just take it. If we get in with the Dragoons, they just block Patrol. We give Dragoons Flying. That's reasonable. Give Dragoons Flying, discard Greeting. And then if they block the Dragoons, we can Rush of Adrenaline. Problem with that is then we can't also Alchemist Greeting. So I think we're going to hold off on that. I think we're just going to get in with the Mindbender. If they do a funny block here, I think I will Rush of Adrenaline, but they just jump block, which is totally fine. And we'll go pass the turn. I'm going to wait until combat to activate this or cast the Greeting, because if I don't, they can just Griffspoon from their graveyard and put it on like their Patrol. So we'll just wait here. And we're probably just going to take 3 from this. I don't mind taking 3. But we will cast this card. Cool. Yep, let's give it double strike. It's totally okay. And a byway courier. Okay, so we discard bidding, which is like not as effective as I would like to be. You know, they've played a byway courier, but we're still okay here. Yep, I do have to worry about Briarbridge Patrol getting flying and then double strike. That's a major concern here. So let's get in like this, I believe. If we get in with everything, they block here, and I can Dragoons to block the Briarbridge Patrol. So yep, that looks good. We also have Rush. I guess we have to keep the Rush of Adrenaline. We can't actually use that because it's the card we need to discard to our Dragoons to block. Although if they block funny, we could win here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, that's enough. All right. We're going for it. And that's the game. Sorry for my slow math there. I'm not the best at math, but we got there. All right, why don't we wrap it up from there? I hope I gave you a little bit of a look into what this format has to offer. Hope some of my insights were helpful. And I would really, really highly recommend drafting the set if you're at all interested in it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite formats. I think the Remastered, they did a bang-up job of making the format even better. I've heard some hesitation from folks that are like, well, I didn't draft this set back in the day, so the people that did draft this set back in the day might have a leg up on me. I might feel outclassed. I actually think, one, this set is pretty new player friendly. The mechanics aren't that complicated. The cards are pretty straightforward. And two, I think that there's a lot of players that have joined Magic and joined Arena in the past few years that also didn't draft back in the day. So I think if you're going to jump into a draft, don't worry about it being you and 7 sharks. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are also playing this set for the first time. So yeah, this set gets my stamp of approval. I'm going to be drafting this for the next month as much as I can. The set is out for a full month. If you want to find my content anywhere, you can find that on Twitch. I am cord_o_calls on Twitch. I stream there almost every weekday at around 3 o'clock Eastern. Or you can find me on my YouTube, that's Limited Level Ups. So you search that and the YouTube, you should find it, Limited Level Ups. I do drafting there, I talk about decks, I have a podcast. And if you want to listen to my podcast on just audio, you can also check that out. Just search Limited Level Ups on any podcast feed, anywhere podcasts are available. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I will check them out. Bye, everybody.